Welcome to the first lesson of the lecture series How to Draw a Cup of Tea. In this series you will learn how to draw the basics of perspective for designers and architects. This first lesson is about drawing a cube by observation. As a designer or architect, you need to be able to sketch your designed object in the right proportions. Therefore, it's skillful to learn to draw a correct cube, because this is a form we can detect and recognize. It's not a random box. It consists of comparable and equal sizes of all the 6 planes. In a correct cube, you're able to relate the size of your object to the ratio of that cube. So your object will be shown as it is meant to be, not deeper, taller, or whatever. We first start with observation, so we're able to measure the objects. Observation was the starting point in perspective drawing when it was invented in Renaissance. Albrecht Dürer shows this in his woodcut from 1525. The observer at the right side looks at his object with one fixed eye, as you can see at the little column beneath his eye. His position is straight across the observed object, and there is a window frame between him and the object. We have a comparable situation here. The easiest way to draw the cube is drawing it directly on the window frame. Now we have the perfect cube drawn by observation. We have to translate this to the paper. First you have to question in what kind of position you want to see your object. The situation at the left, where the 2 vertical planes have the same size and the front and back rib align. Or do you want the cube in the middle, which only shows the front and the top? Or do you want to have a better view on one side than on the other? More is possible. A very high point of view where the verticals gets foreshortened. This is called a 3-point perspective. A low point of view, which can be used for an eye-level perspective of big objects. A good and neutral position is shown here. One vertical plane is clearly more foreshortened than the other one. This position can show the most interesting side of your object in a good view. There is a good distinction between both sides. Draw the first vertical rib. It is the biggest one of all the ribs. It will be used as your measuring rod. Draw a horizontal line at the bottom, used as a dummy line. Make long crossing lines. This gives your drawing a certain tightness. Now you have to find out where the 2 other vertical ribs are situated in your drawing. How to do this? Just by measuring first the horizontal size of the biggest plane with a fine liner in your stretched arm. It will be always the same size. And comparing this to the vertical size of the measuring rod. And don't forget, looking through one fixed eye, like in Dürer's perspective explanatory woodcut. You see a difference in size. Pick up that size on your fine liner. Again with your stretched arm and find out how many times this size fits in the measuring rod. When it fits more or less 5 times, you can translate that into your drawing. Divide in your drawing the first rib, your measuring rod, into 5 equal sizes. Take 4/5 of that size to put in the horizontal direction. Then you know where the right vertical is situated. The same action can be done at the most foreshortened side. Measure the horizontal size of the left plane with your stretched arm again and compare this to the measuring rod. Does it fit 2 or 2.5 times in it? When it fits 2.5 times in that rib, you take 2/5 of the vertical and put that horizontally at the left side, where you can put now the left vertical. The next step is detaching the angles on the underground. How do they look like? Put your fine liner with your stretched arm in a horizontal position on the lowest point of the first rib. Now you're able to see far better how the angles look like. For finding more relations, you can align the position where the left rib is standing on the ground horizontally to the first rib. And then do the same with the right rib position. Now you're able to draw it on paper. Look at the rest form. Does it look correctly? Where is the rib at the back of the cube? Therefore, you measure the left horizontal plane and compare this with the plane inside the cube. The left plane is smaller. You can draw this now. Therefore, put the size of the left plane inside the cube and extend this size. The next step is drawing the top of the cube. First, look at the angles again. They will be smaller on top in comparison with the bottom. Draw a dummy line on top. Compare the angles with the bottom, making sure that the top angle becomes smaller. Then it's easy to finish the bottom. Important is that all the horizontal lines of the cube run towards the same vanishing point, so they make the same convergence. Making long lines will help this, to see it. Now the left plane needs to be finished. Look at the angle on top. This needs to be smaller than on the bottom side. The rest can be drawn by looking very well at the convergence. Then therefore make long lines again. Making a transparent cube has the advantage that you have more information about the convergence in the perspective of the cube. Now the last step is making tonality to make the cube more visible as a volume. Tonality creates spaciousness in a drawing. You can choose to tone only one side of the cube. Then best is to take the right, less foreshortened plane, so you can mask more from the construction in the back. Markers are used because it works quickly and it is effective in the combination with fine liners. In the next lesson there will be shown more about tonality. Make a dark line beneath the cube as a shadow line. Let's see how we can analyze a drawn cube. At the right side, this is the less foreshortened side. The vanishing points are far away, so there is much convergence. You see a smaller angle with the dummy line. This side looks most like a square. At the left side, this is the more foreshortened side. Vanishing points are closer to the object. There is a bigger angle with the dummy line. This has not much recognition with the square. Let's go back to the original drawing. What is incorrect? The bottom is too deep, a mistake which is made very often. You simply can restore this by bringing the lines to the front. In the second lesson we will discuss more about mistakes that are made very often. What did you learn within this first lesson? Observing a three-dimensional cube and drawing that one in the right proportions on a flat piece of paper, so that it still looks three-dimensional. There is a next lesson in the series of how to draw a cup of tea. This is about how to draw a cube by imagination. Therefore we will use the knowledge which is gained by drawing the cube by observation. Thank you for attending this lesson about drawing the basics in perspective for designers and architects.